Hi, I'm Haley and welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited because today I'm going to be talking about all of the fragrances that I used up in 2024. So I have 7 different fragrances here. I have 3 full-size fragrances, 2 travel size, and 2 sort of like deluxe size minis. And I'm gonna go through and talk through all of them. Obviously, I enjoy all of these because I use them up. And as much as I love trying new fragrances and collecting fragrances, I also want to make sure I'm actively using the things that I own and making sure that I get my money's worth out of what I have paid for. So I'm super excited to talk about all these fragrances and kind of like reflect upon what I used up over the past year. So if that sounds good to you, I hope you'll stick around and keep on watching. Okay, so it is January still, but I feel like I look so Valentine's Day. Like I threw this on, then I was like, oh, I look like ready for the season of love. So that is super fun. So the first fragrance is one that is honestly one of my all-time favorites. I have not repurchased any of these since using them up, but this is definitely going to be first on my list for purchasing another full-size bottle of this. And that is Tom Ford's Café Rose. So I have the old bottle. They have come out with it again in a new different style bottle, not in there. I think this is their signature collection line. And I absolutely love this fragrance. I love rose fragrances, but I especially love a super photorealistic rose. So a rose that smells like fresh from the garden, a dry rose, rose greenery, like the leaves and thorns and things like that, not necessarily a super synthetic rose or like, you know, that fake screechy rose scent. And I feel like this is a perfect example of the kind of rose scent that I love, which is to say a really photorealistic rose scent. And so even though this does have cafe literally in the name, the coffee notes in this are very light to my nose. It is not a super strong coffee scent like Mancera's Amore Cafe, anything like that, any of a more coffee or like lactonic milky scent, anything like that. To me, it's just a beautiful, soft, photorealistic rose scent with a touch of coffee and some patchouli in the base. So it's a little bit spicy because of that patchouli, but that is something that I really love. I think patchouli and rose are just a natural combination, a match made in heaven. I have several other rose and patchouli fragrances in my collection that I really love, such as Montal's Rose Night. That's another rose and patchouli fragrance that goes in a different direction, but one that I also really enjoy. And one interesting thing that I noticed when I was looking this fragrance up on Fragrantica is that the new release and the old original release that I have here both have different notes on Fragrantica. So for the original, this has top notes of May rose, saffron, and black pepper, mid notes of Turkish rose, Bulgarian rose, and coffee, and base notes of patchouli, incense, sandalwood, and amber. So I definitely get the patchouli, a little bit of the incense spiciness there, the black pepper, and like I said, that very faint wisp of coffee. And then in the new release, it has top notes of Turkish rose and coffee, mid notes of Bulgarian rose, patchouli, cardamom, coriander, and ylang-ylang, and then base notes of frankincense and sandalwood. So that, to me, that's totally different. It's similar, but you know, they add in the coriander, the ylang-ylang, frankincense, and sandalwood in the base. So to me, that's a fairly different perfume. I'm not sure who writes and releases the Fragrantica notes. I'm not sure maybe if it's based off of what the brand puts out and it's kind of just like thrown up on Fragrantica, or if it has input from the Fragrantica community. So I don't know. I do definitely want to buy another full-size bottle of this because I love it, but also because I would love to compare the original and the new release. But like I said, I absolutely love this fragrance. I think it's so, so pretty and very classic. Some critiques I've heard of this is that people don't like that the coffee note is not very strong. They're basically looking for a very coffee forward fragrance, and that is not this. But to me, I feel like the name is not so much about the notes, but more like the vibe that it evokes. Like it's like being on a sidewalk cafe in Paris and you have like the breeze and like the springtime flowers in the air, things like that. I feel like it's more just the general vibe as opposed to the specific notes. Another critique I've heard of this is that it smells kind of old-fashioned or grandmotherly. I don't really like age-related descriptors of fragrance like that. And I feel like it's kind of an insult to grandmothers, but I think that you're just gonna get that with a lot of rose fragrances because they have been very popular for a very long time and are sometimes more popular among certain demographics. But if you love a soft, pretty, a little bit spicy, photorealistic rose scent, I absolutely love this. Like I said, I use this bottle entirely up, so that is my review of this, the fact that this bottle is fully empty. And then the next fragrance that I fully used up in 2024 is a fragrance that I sort of have a love-hate relationship with, and that is Chloé Nomad. So I do really like and almost prefer the other Chloé fragrances. So I love the original Chloé. I love Rose Tangerine. I love Roses de Chloé and some of the other more recent flankers that have come out. And this one is a little bit more challenging for me because it uses a ton of oak moss. So this fragrance has top notes of Mirabelle, bergamot, lemon, and orange. So a very fruity top layer. Mid notes of freesia, peach, jasmine, and rose. So some very pretty fruity florals. And then base notes of oak moss, patchouli, amberwood, white musk, and sandalwood. And I feel like these base notes are kind of what distinguish it from another, very common profile in designer fragrances of the fruity floral. And I just don't love the oak moss here. I love patchouli, I love amber, musk is fine to me, and I love sandalwood, but the oak moss here makes it not one of my favorites. I do smell like that sandalwood, patchouli, amber vibe here, but the oak moss makes it challenging for me to wear. But like I said, I did obviously finish this bottle up completely, but it's not one that I would repurchase. It's just not one of my favorites of the Chloé line. And while I don't think this is a bad fragrance by any means, it's just not, one of my absolute all-time faves. So I'm glad to have fully used this up. Like I said, it got my money's worth and moving it out of my collection in favor of things that I just like all that much more. Then the next fragrance I have here is one that I really enjoyed, but was just a little deluxe size sample, and that is the Aerin Mediterranean Honeysuckle fragrance. So I think I got this for free from Sephora or something like that, but it was a fairly generous size for a free sample. As you can see here, just a little dabber bottle. And I thought this was so nice for spring and I really enjoyed it. This fragrance has notes of grapefruit, honeysuckle, bergamot, lily of the valley, mandarin orange, gardenia, and jasmine sambac. So I think this is really pretty. It is very heavy on the mandarin, so I really smell those citrus notes here, the grapefruit, bergamot, things like that, with some very pretty light and airy white florals. I enjoyed this. I'm not going to buy a full-size bottle of this, but it is a profile that I enjoy and I think is so pretty for spring. It's very office friendly. It's very like classically feminine without being sweet. So if you like sort of citrusy white floral scents, but you don't like ones that are ultra woody in the base, this might be one that I would recommend for you. To me, it also reminds me a lot of the Hermès Jardin lines, Jardin sur le Toit, all of those Hermès fragrances that are just airy, pretty, very naturalistic, like in the sense that they very much draw on like classic florals and fruits and things like that. So I think if you like that kind of fragrance profile, you may want to check this fragrance out. Then next up is a fragrance that I used up this summer and one that I absolutely adore. I ran through this bottle quicker than anything else here, and it is a full-size bottle of Ocean de Gioia from Giorgio Armani. I love this fragrance. So this is a beautiful, breezy, airy, fruity white floral with the top notes of pear, green notes, and citrus, mid notes of water, jasmine, lily of the valley, salt, and rose, and base notes of musk and sandalwood. So this is actually my favorite of the flankers in this line. So Aqua de Gioia, Ocean de Gioia, there's a bunch in the line, but I really, really like this. I love the delicate fruity notes. It's not ultra sweet. Just that like little bit of pear and citrus is so nice, along with the lovely white florals. So the jasmine, lily of the valley. It just has a very aquatic vibe that I think is so wonderful for spring and summer. I just feel like I can smell like a delicious light summer breeze, and I just really enjoy this one. If you like the Tree Hut Ocean Glow line, you'll really enjoy this. That's like a little bit sweeter than this, but it's very much that same vibe here. So really enjoy this one, and I ran through this. Of course, this is a very light fragrance, and in the summer, you know, you kind of have to overspray, especially light fragrances if you want them to stick around in the heat, but really enjoyed this one, and we'll definitely repurchase it at some point in time. Next up, I have another designer fruity floral fragrance, and that is Versace Perfumes Mentioned Blue. This one has top notes of Granny Smith apple, blackcurrant, clover, forget-me-not, and shiso. Mid notes of peach, betalia, rosehip, rose, and jasmine, and base notes of musk, whitewoods, styrax, and patchouli. So this is just so nice and pleasant. It reminds me a lot of back to school. It's very crisp. I definitely get that Granny Smith apple note with a nice, very pleasant and not intense woody base. So this is just so easy to wear. Like I mentioned for some of the other ones, very office friendly. I feel like it gives like a little bit of a professional vibe, like a woman who you know, wants to smell really good, but also has like a cup full of perfectly sharpened pencils on her desk, something like that. Just really like this one. It is, like I said, very crisp, perfect for that end of summer, early fall, like back to school season. I really enjoy this fragrance. I think it's really great and very affordable. Can be found super affordably on Joma Shop and retail, other discounters and things like that. So really like this one. I think that this one is also a crowd pleaser. And next up, I also have another apple fragrance. I use up both of these in kind of like the fall winter time, which I feel like it's prime apple season to me. I love a Christmas apple scent. I love a fall apple, summer apple, all of that. Apple is just one of my favorite fragrance notes because it's so juicy, sweet without being cloying, and it has these wonderful like seasonal associations, like I was saying, with back to school, Christmas, Halloween, all of those great times of year. So up next, I have a little mini of my Kayali Eden Juicy Apple, and I really enjoyed this one. Like I said, I love apple scents, and this one did not disappoint. So this has top notes of red apple, lychee, blackcurrant, and grapefruit, mid notes of wild berries, raspberry bloom, may rose, and jasmine, and base notes of sugar, musk, vanilla flower, moss, and amber. And I think this is just so wonderful. To me, it smells like if you took Baccarat Rouge or Ariana Grande Cloud and added a ton of apple notes. So if you like that sort of Cloud or Baccarat DNA and you just want something fruitier, this is 100% for you. I don't always love that Baccarat vibe. It's just not my thing. I think it can be like overly sweet and cloying. This does not have the medical doctor's note, doctor's office note that Baccarat can sometimes have, by the way. It's really more like on the cloud side. But for me, that's not always my 100% go-to, but I did really enjoy this one. I don't think I'll buy a full-size bottle, but I do definitely recommend this for anybody who likes that kind of fragrance and also really likes, you know, sweet, juicy apple fragrances as well. And then last up for the year, this is just a little mini, but this is a new fragrance, and this is Merit Retrospect. So this came out very recently, and I was so thrilled to have the chance to get to try this because I think it's really unique for a brand new release, and super interesting. This is an aldehydic fragrance with top notes of pear and bread aldehydes and bergamot, mid notes of orris, jasmine, violet rose, and rosemary, and base notes of musk, moss, and vanilla. So I definitely get those aldehydes here, along with the white florals and the musk and moss in the base. And I think it's just really classy and pretty. I've said this before, but it kind of reminds me of some Chanel fragrances that use aldehydes. And I think it's a super interesting release for a brand that has never done fragrance before. So I think that's awesome. I did really enjoy the chance to get to try this and used it up on a trip that I was taking, which was great. But I don't think I'll buy a full-size bottle of this one. I just have so many other fragrances that I enjoy. And as much as I do like the fragrance profile of this, it's not always one of my go-tos. So that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I loved using all these fragrances up during the course of the year. I'm gonna do this again at the end of 2025, so just keep all of my perfume empties and do a little roundup of them all at the end of the year. As like I said, as much as I love collecting and trying new fragrances, I also really want to get use of everything that I own and I've spent my money on. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. If you like this kind of content, I hope you'll stick around and subscribe.